Hello and welcome to another session on entrepreneurship and early startups. I hope all of you are doing great around your lives. This is part B of an earlier session conducted on how great products can be realized by building on the ideas of others. This part is also based on David Cord Murray's book, Borrowing Brilliance. So let's start with the question today. So here we have three questions. You can pause this video for 3 minutes and give 1 minute to each of the following questions and try to work out the answers. You can match your answers with the ones given at the end of this lecture. So what we have covered in part one was that excellence or brilliance does not have to be brand new or cannot be brand new. There is nothing as such purely new ideas. Ideas are born out of other ideas. And David Cord Murray has divided this process into 6 steps, namely defining, borrowing, combining, incubating, judging, and last but not the least is enhancing. So this is from the session number one or part one of this lecture on borrowing excellence or borrowing brilliance. In the first session, we covered the first 2 steps, and in this, we have covered the defining and borrowing steps, and now today we'll take it from step number 3. So we'll cover combining, incubating, judging, enhancing, and this will be complete. So the first 3 in the series, they are actually the origin of creative ideas, whereas the next 3, they are so today we will be doing combining, incubating, judging, and enhancing. Combining is step number 3 in the process of achieving excellence through borrowing brilliance. Human beings themselves are results of a combination. Making creative combination is a major challenge at this step. Taking the building metaphor again that we have seen in part 1, all buildings are made up of concrete, steel, and glass. Using same components, we can construct Opera House in Sydney or Burj Khalifa in Dubai. So these are not the components, but the way they have been combined that matters. So how are these combinations made? So this is our challenge in this process of combining different ideas. To understand it further, we see how we can differentiate between the strategy and tactics. Strategy is structural, and tactics are components that create strategy. From a CEO's point of view, direct marketing is a tactic that is part of his overall strategy. So tactics are components which are combined to formulate strategy. From marketing manager point of view, marketing is strategic, while envelope, list, package, they are all tactical. By combining all the tactics, we can understand the strategy. As Einstein said, constructing an idea is a combinatory play. From combining step, we can use the metaphor in a creative way. For this particular step, we can use metaphor in a creative way, and there are 3 stages in which we can use this metaphor. The first step is the process of combining can be done in 3 steps rather. First, we establish a metaphor by making a combination between 2 things, and we can use defining and borrowing steps to gather the material. For instance, the example of building and the components of the building material presented here serve as a metaphor to explain how this combining process can work. The second step is extension of the metaphor to establish for your idea, and you let your creation grow. So we extend the metaphor. At this step, we see which idea combine the best. There are different ideas and we have made different combinations. So we see what are the best combinations. This can be illustrated from the journey of the portable music devices. While creating iPod, Apple was combining two ideas: Walkman from Sony, and the technology was coming from the creative technologies. How did George Lucas develop Star Wars? It was a sheer excellence of combination or combining mythology and science fiction. He conceived the idea, so the ancient war and the modern war equipment were combined. The third step is the metaphor is discarded, because the metaphor is just to realize the ideas combination in a better way. Once we have extended the metaphor and have established our idea, and the idea or the creation had started growing, we should get rid of the metaphor. So discarding the metaphor when it begins to extend too far is the third step in the combining process. The purpose of the metaphor is to facilitate the process in terms of thinking clearly. This is visible, say in Facebook, that was an idea conceived from a college book. And when this was extended and when the Facebook came into being, the college yearbook actually vanished. It was discarded. There was no metaphor once the company was established. Similar thing happened with the Google. So it is visible if we see the transition from the library framework to Google. The problem was with the library framework, and when it merged and when the problem was solved, the Google came into being and the metaphor ceased to exist. So while doing here, we should make sure that we should not confuse the tool with its function. The objective is not to construct a metaphor, but to construct a meaningful and useful combination that solves the identified problem. Every idea is an amalgam of ideas that came before. By using a metaphor, a comparison of one thing to another, we intellectually connect two things. Once this combination is made, the metaphor is extended and two things are allowed to grow, merging the two ideas together. The extension of the metaphor creates the framework of our ideas. So this is how this works. The next step in this process of borrowing brilliance or excellence is incubating. So to understand the process of incubating, we should understand, we should have answered a few questions. First of all, we should know that our subconscious mind is the pot for creative ideas. So there are two fundamental questions related to this incubating process. Question number one: how do I make my breakthrough ideas appear more consistently? Rather than appearing once in a blue moon, how can they come more frequently? And how do I create the experience? If we can recall what happened to Archimedes when he discovered the floating principle, that was a result of sheer repetitious thoughts. The thought was repeated time and again, and at one point of time, the floating principle came into his mind. To understand this process of incubating, let's see how our brain is structured. Our brain is a combination of three ancestral brains: reptilian brain, mammalian brain, and human brain. So they have been colored in a different way. This is reptilian brain. This is the limbic system or mammalian brain, and this is our executive or human brain. Reptilian brain, which is also known as brainstem, controls the maintenance and life support functions like breathing, heart rate, and blood pressure. Mammalian brain surrounds the brainstem, and this includes the limbic system. This is the seat of emotion and source of fight or flight instinct. On the other hand, human brain, the cerebral cortex, it surrounds the brainstem and the limbic system. This is the source of thinking, reasoning, and consciousness. The fundamental difference between human brain and the other brains is the cerebral cortex. This cortex comprises of 100 billion neurons, and a neuron is a highly complex nerve that communicates with each other through synaptic connections. Electromagnetic signals are used for this, for the purpose of communication. At birth, the cerebral cortex is unwired, whereas the brainstem and the limbic system is pre-wired. This pre-wiring provides us with our instinct and our programmed feeling and thoughts. During the development, the neurons that fire together wire together. There are over 30,000 thoughts a day, meaning 30,000 bursts of electrochemical energy. The importance of incubation for the purpose of creative idea generation can be explained through an example that involves a jelly and groove. So here we have jelly. Just like this groove or these grooves on the jelly, we have fixed thinking patterns. When a drop of water is poured on the top of the jelly, it trickles down through one of the grooves. It is very unlikely that new grooves come into existence by itself. We have to fill the existing grooves to create the new ones. This is exactly what is done in the incubating phase. When through the process of defining, borrowing, and combining, you come across some ideas and then you pass it on to your subconscious and sleep on it and let it incubate, you are allowing the new combinations to formulate. To understand it further and how these ideas are generated, let's consider another metaphor. Consider subconscious mind as a large banquet hall where thoughts are guests, whereas the conscious mind is a small room adjacent to this hall. This banquet hall is a seating place for thousands of guests, whereas the conscious mind is a smaller drawing room adjacent to it, and this small room can accommodate only a few guests. There is a doorway between the hall and the room, and it is guarded by a watchman. In the banquet hall, there is freedom to talk, eat, and dance. It is all happening away from the light of conscious mind. Lights are dim, and there is party. The adjacent room has a code of behavior. You have to be logical, well prepared, consistent, and coherent with the established norms. Watchman does not allow the guests who do not attend the codes to enter into the drawing room. This is why our conscious thoughts are connected. The watchman cuts the primary source of inspiration. There is no connection with the banquet hall. The guests who leave are forgotten. So, what in order to generate more and more ideas, the watchman should be relaxed. The rules should be relaxed. More and more people should be allowed to enter into these rooms so that there are multiple ideas generated. So if we can relax the rules or the preset rules of our minds, we can generate more ideas and more fertile ideas. Our subconscious mind works in three stages: input, incubation, and output. At the input stage, we ask questions like what problems I'm trying to solve? What solutions can I borrow to solve it? What combinations can I make to solve it? And you can feed your subconscious all this material by writing the problem out, by describing the borrowed ideas, and saying it loud and read it in the morning and the evening. Once your thoughts are passed to your shadow self, it shall sleep over it. You need to relax the watchman and keep clearing the drawing room and should be ready to entertain more and more guests. So this can be illustrated. Relaxing the rule or sometimes picking up an idea by mistake can lead to new inventions. And this can be illustrated by an example through Graham Bell's life. Graham Bell misread a book on the sensation of tone by Hermann von Moltke. Vowel sounds, what he misread, the actual sentence was vowel sounds could be reproduced using electrical tuning forks and resonators. Bell could not read the German very well, and he read it as Vowel sounds can be reproduced by using electrical wires. So he read electrical wires instead of electrical signals. The misunderstanding made him speech using the electrical wires, which he ultimately did. The next step in this process of borrowing brilliance is judging. In biological evolution, it is the fight for the limited resources that determines survivability. In business too, survivability is based on the importance of the problem and how well the idea solves the problem relative to other solutions. So the question is, what makes an idea survivable? Why do some ideas endure when others go extinct? Here are a few answers to these two questions. If you solve a trivial problem, your idea will be dead. It will be trivial and it will be dead very soon. If you solve an important problem, but less effectively as compared to the other solution available to the customers, your idea shall die too. The third one is the important one, that if you solve an important problem in a way no one else has solved it, survivability is guaranteed. So this is how we can make sure that the ideas can be, they can be surviving, or they can survive the heat of the market. So why did iPod succeeded when it was launched? It succeeded because it solved an important problem, the problem of downloading the music that was becoming illegal. The music downloading of the music from the website is becoming illegal, and the Sony's Walkman was not solving that problem. So the iPod succeeded because it solved an important problem and solved the problem better than the existing solution or the way Sony's Walkman was solving. It became popular not because of Apple's advertising, but because of the word of mouth. Like biological evolution, the ideas descend too. The automobile is a descendant of a horse-drawn carriage, which was a child of a chariot, which was the son of a wheelbarrow. So this is how descendancy actually worked. So there is no ultimate reality. So keep moving and don't get stuck. When you are on the moon, it is the earth that rises and sets. Sun did not rise or set for Neil Armstrong. Criticism is the driving mechanism in the process of evolution. So judging process is very important. We should be ready to criticize others' ideas as well as the ideas presented by ourselves. So as Truman said, if you cannot stand the heat, you should get out of the kitchen. So here we have the judgment has three primary functions. The judgment determines the weakness, determines the strength, and it provides a sense of perfection. It determines the weakness of an idea. Once the weakness is sorted, it can be eliminated. It determines the strength of an idea. Once the strength is determined, it can be further enhanced. And last but not the least, it provides a sense of perfect solution or sense of perfection. So this will actually lead to the strong points without the weak points. So here we have endorsing or damaging an idea. What should we be asking? We should be looking for or asking for the issues, arguments, and evidence that can work to endorse your idea. And then you need to also see that what are the issues, arguments, and evidence that can work to damage your idea. So while you are in the process of judging, keep an eye on the components of the emotional judgment. You need to be logical. Your opinion should be logical, means it should be based on facts and debates. And there is an emotional point of view, that how you feel about your own opinion and about the opinion of others. And you should also mind that feelings are the language of emotion. The last step is not a discrete step actually. It is the process of revisiting and integrating the first five steps. So how can this is, for example, in this step, when you are judging the idea, this judgment step actually provides you a chance to see whether there was a problem in defining the problem. If there was a problem in defining the problem, you can redefine the problem. Then you need to see if you borrowed from the right sources, you can reborrow. Then you can also recombine the structure to make a different building. It's just the recombination of the same material. You can construct different building. You can re-incubate the solution and you can rejudge the whole process again. So this process is actually called enhancing. This is the last step in the process of borrowing excellence. So this can be illustrated through some questions. For example, how can I improve the efficiency of my coworkers? This is called positive redefining. The focus is on coworkers or workers. So as you are focusing on the workers, so focus on worker and how does he do the job. This will lead to the solutions like better lighting and different tools, because you are positively redefining it and your focus is on worker. You are focusing on how does he do or how does he work, and you will come up with the better strategies like better lighting as well as different tools that can help him to get the job done in a better way. Then we have how can I reduce the time spent working on the product. This is negative redefining because you are thinking on reducing something. Now the focus has changed. This is in negative redefining. The focus is on task, and this will lead to the solutions like robotics and breaking the task into more manageable chunks. Same problem, but different view. So it means that the way we are looking at this is these two are the same problem, but the way we have redefined the problem has changed the nature of solution that we managed to build at the end. Then we have another view that if my workers are waiting for the next car to come down the assembly line. So here our focus is on the action waiting. This will produce ideas that shall eliminate either wait. So you can speed up the assembly lines. If you want to reduce the wait, speed up the assembly line, or while they are waiting, you can give them something else to work while they are on the waiting. The next one is production line was slow down. If you see, this is again another way of enhancing. In this case, the focus is on the object. For example, in this case, it's the assembly line. This focus shall lead to the ideas that solve assembly line problems like rearranging the order in which the things are assembled. So what we have done here is you can redefine the problem in a positive way, in a negative way, in an active way, or in a passive way. The way you redefine the problem shall change the solution that is developed to solve that particular problem. So, leading to the end, we have can your idea or my idea be used to solve a different problem? If you are working with an idea and your idea is not solving the problem, that is a problem at hand, you can ask this question: can this idea be used to solve a different problem? Or even if this is a successful idea, the solution is successful, you can ask, can I apply the same idea to solve a different problem? So you can ask a number of questions. For example, what components can I replace in this structure to make it more effective? What components can I add to make my idea that will solve the additional problems? It is solving one problem. So if you can add another component into your idea, it may solve multiple problems. What can I take away that is of no use? What components are no longer needed? What can I subtract? How can I multiply? Is there a part of this existing idea that I can separate and create something that will stand alone to solve another problem? So it means that you are working with a large number of customer segments, and one of your product is actually going very popular with a certain customer segment. So you can take, simply you can zoom in, and that idea can be a company itself. What are, you can also ask, what are the encouraging attributes of my idea? What are the harmful attributes of my idea, and how do I feel about my idea? So this is all that you have to do when you are enhancing, which is the sixth step in the process of borrowing excellence. So this is how this is where we complete this six steps taken from David Murray's book Borrowing Brilliance. And here is the answer to the warm-up questions that were presented at the beginning of this lecture. So in a departmental store, a ping pong paddle and a plastic ball cost $1.10. If the paddle cost $1 more, how much is the ball? It's 5 cents. Go back to your answer and see. If you did not answer 5 cents, what went wrong? There is nothing you don't have to worry about if your answer is not right. But the thing is, there are, you should be, adopting flexible thinking if you are going towards the entrepreneurial way. So the entrepreneurs work, they are flexible, they don't well, they do exercise what they have already learned, but they are ready to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So go through these three questions, match your answers. If your answers are different to these answers, then see the mapping of your mind and see what went wrong. You can see through a very small tweaking, you can improve this. With this session has come to an end. Thank you so very much. See you next time. Thank you.